But now, a year later, the new owners of the property want to return it back to a mother-daughter, or technically a two-family home.
When this was, the way it is right now, is it a two-family home?
Well, I don't know if they've already gone ahead.
Well, let's put it this way, when did you tell them to take the?
Last year, some here, I've got it here actually. Back in September of '21, I issued them a permit to remove the kitchen, or remove the stove, to create a pantry instead, so that it didn't list itself as a violation. I had it as a violation.
So prior to, for June of 2021, it was listed as a two-family home?
It was listed as
It's a single family.
It was listed, right, it was listed as a single-family home,
With two kitchens?
2 kitchens, and the assessor's office had it, instead of a 220, which would be a two-family, or a 210, which would be a single-family, they had a specific code as a 215, meeting it in the middle so the assessor and the garbage collection and all that would represent a two-family home because of the extra water usage, for the extra garbage pickup, the extra sewer and all of that was accounted for by the town of Blooming Grove. But it came up as a violation that it had the mother-daughter and it couldn't be sold that way. I got them to agree to remove the stove, even the gas line, had them cap off the gas line around the wall. And now, recently, just 2 weeks ago, they sold the house and they want to return it to a mother-daughter, legitimately for a family member, I believe. But again, the village board needs to let me know how to proceed with this. Are we going to allow it? Have there been discussions about it?
I have 3 questions.
Sure, go ahead.
How was the house sold? Was it sold as a single-family home, mother-daughter?
Oh, goodness
Two
gracious.
That's
I had the indenture, it's in the other one. I don't think it mentions it was sold as what, just as simply sold as a property. I believe.
Is that relevant?
But I have to look.
Well, yeah, because if it's a single, do we allow two-family homes?
No.
Okay, do we allow mother-daughters?
There are two-family homes in Washingtonville.
But now, per the code now, do we allow two-family homes?
If
That's
it's in
my,
the zone for two-family, if this is an R100.
So this
no,
is
for two-family.
it's not.
Correct.
Well, R100 is zoned for single family.
single-family. So
Right.
does a mother-daughter change that zoning?
This is a question that
I think it does.
It does.
Well, it does, yeah, it could, it's gonna possibly, it will. I'm sorry, I changed my mind. It will, because all of a sudden you're gonna have people trying to rent them out. You're gonna have people with more cars, parking on the street and everything. But again, this is why I'm asking the board what they want to do.
One more question.
Okay, go ahead.
Are second kitchens allowed per code? And
No.
they are 100. So why are we even
No.
discussing it?
Are
Right?
they,
If the-
are they allowed? Well, we had a situation a couple of months ago in High Grove where it was sold that way.
But it's not right. So are we changing because one house sold is that?
Explain to me what R100 is.
Residential.
Single-family homes.
But, for example, there are single-family homes all over my neighborhood, but there are 2 homes specifically built with 2 kitchens and multi-family home.
Across the
Okay.
street from me, right?
If they're grandfathered. or-
Grandfather, they were
No,
created.
no, it was built that way, then he separated them. Yeah, this is the Woodfield.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, I don't know which one we're looking at here.
When Woodfield first started, they wanted to build all the homes attached.
But they weren't selling.
They weren't selling, so then they came back to the planning board at the time, and they asked to sell individuals. And
But-
that's how that happens. I think there's only
But they have
5.
separate entrances,
Yes.
you know, this is,
But it's good, the home is connected.
there's only a shared wall in between.
No, these are
Which one, Woodfields?
on Woodfield.
You're talking about,
I'm not talking about,
Waterfront.
I'm talking about the Woodfield development.
but there's this, like my, not like
Yours
mine is
is-
individual,
right,
but then
yours
the other ones is just like my house attacked by one wall to another house.
Right.
No, I'm talking about my house being split into 2 family.
Right, I know what you're talking about. That's Waterford.
Yeah,
Yeah, not Woodfield. Woodfield Drive.
I'm saying
Yeah,
Woodfield development.
Okay, so, yeah, but they may have been grandfathered, but at this juncture, if it's not, a second kitchen is not allowed, why are we looking at bending the rules for anyone?
someone had brought it to my attention.
I would say it's.
All right, so if we don't bend the rules,
Mhm.
are we going to, now this one, like I said, had a permit from the previous building inspector, rather than, the agreement that people signed,
This owner or previous owner?
the previous owner.
And the previous building inspector, right?
The previous
Both are
building
now
inspector,
gone.
yeah, that had given them a
For a reason.
permit, signed it, and allowed them to have a second kitchen, as a mother and daughter, but it was completely different from anything else.
But they had a reason, I guess, or whatever, that they allowed that?
Well, I think there's a
Extended
mother-daughter
rates.
home on Bernadette Way.
Okay, yeah, they're extending
And
their
they
reasons.
came in, somewhere in the file, I remember hearing that there's an affidavit signed,
They've
that
all,
they can't sell it
As a,
as a two-family, but do you know who's selling the house down the street from you?
This is
You
listed
don't.
as a one
I
family.
think some of them have slipped by.
so that's the thing, is the rule
So
is
whatever G is
no.
talking about at 1.5, there is no 1.5.
Is
This is
it-
a one-family home.
Is it one of those things you wanna open that Pandora's box?
Well, that's the, yeah.
That's what he's asking.
That's what
Uh,
I'm
So,
asking,
I
yeah.
mean, I think the rules are in place for a reason, and we have zones for a reason, and we have, single-family residential, why would we wanna now say, okay,
All right, so then.
that's my opinion.
Then, all right, so if we can have a resolution,
I think
yeah,
everybody's.
Yeah.
if
I
you
don't
can
think
have.
we need a resolution because it's the rule.
Yeah,
So
Right.
if it's a rule we're gonna stick by,
Yep.
then that'll be my responsibility to the best I can to get them eliminated when, and which is what I have been doing. We've had some illegal ones, like over on Nicole Street over here, which was a single, somehow it became mother-daughter, the person who bought it put up a wall and created
A
two,
multi-
no, it actually created two families.
Mm.
So that was in the court, it was voted down, they couldn't do it, it creates a lot of problems.
And
So,
also when you
nip it in
first
the bud.
started, 61 East Main, when you first started, you
Uh,
had 3 floors occupied.
That's a good
oh, that's 60, yeah, right. Yeah,
so here's a question.
one. Really?
Do they have can they go to the planning board or zoning board?
Well, that's my question, right? Are we going to continue with the policy that was established for a mother-daughter, even though it was not right, saying that they can do it, but that they can't sell it that way? When they sell it, they have to rip it out. And all we have been doing, in my capacity, is removing the stove and creating a pantry. Technically not a secondary living unit.
But do they have the right to, can they go and ask for a variance?
That's what I'm finding out, yeah. Can we?
That would be a village attorney question, I would think.
That would be good.
All right, so I'll write a letter, an email to our attorney, right?
I would go with Stephanie as well as
That's
Elizabeth.
a little multi, planning and zoning.
Okay, we want to just.
Anybody ask for anything at a zoning hearing?
You could ask for
Yeah,
the
that's what
moving
I
stars,
thought.
be
You could
honest.
ask anything.
I mean, isn't that what
Doesn't mean
zoning's
it's in code,
for?
Yeah,
You're asking for something that
you
doesn't
could ask
follow
for
code.
4 kitchens.
It would be-
Oh, yeah, it could get out of control, yeah. And most properties have very limited driveway access to begin with. Look like, terrible.
Yeah, I don't think it's where they want to go.
You'll have
I
a lot of,
understand it. Your mother-daughter, your mother should have dinner with
that's the way it used to be.
you, right?
I'm not looking, go.
So again, all right, so we'll find out how we want to handle that. And again, it's to preserve the character and the zoning of the village, because a lot of people, it starts getting out of hand, a lot of people are gonna say, how did you let this happen?
Mhm.
And we wanna try to keep that down.
Absolutely.
All right, if they want to go to the zone, we'll go to the zone.
Right. It
Okay.
doesn't follow our code, so.
Doesn't
If it's not in the code, it shouldn't be allowed. And if you make one exception,
So-
you make 100.
Until you hear back from
Elizabeth and Stephanie.
Well, I'm gonna write an
the
email.
attorneys, this doesn't happen.
Yeah, okay.
And
Alright.
getting back, I think you had asked a question about cabinets. I think you can put cabinets and sinks in every room, refrigerators in every room, just
Just
can't
not
put
a
a stove.
Technically, to be honest with you, the code is very vague on a lot of things with regard to that, because they say it's the cooking device, which could even qualify.
A microwave?
Exactly. But if you put a microwave in your bedroom, does that become a kitchen? No, so you gotta have a little sense and something like that. I'll write something to Stephanie and Elizabeth, try to figure out what we want to do. Okay, the other one then?
FEMA lots on Cardinal Drive. John,
Oh, that's me, okay.
sorry, make sure that there were two.
Ah.
He's not want to do anything until he gets approval, right?
Yeah, well, no, the board has already, I'm sorry, yeah, the board had agreed upon $20,000 for each lot.
Yes.
He's willing to pay it, but again, as the mayor has said, they want to wait until, make sure that their project is approved before they go out and spend $20 on two lots that they can't use. Which they're not buying the lots, they're only using it for remediation purposes. Remains in the control and ownership of the village.
I don't think there's going to be a run on those two properties.
I checked with our planning board engineer, and he says as far as he's concerned, nobody's doing anything with it. I checked with another engineer, and they said they're not doing anything with it as far as they can tell. So it looks like the two lots are available.
Okay, so
However, first come, first served, and someone might lose it. And this is better than the other two lots, the other lot that he wanted across the street, which had higher, better ground, which was more useful. Again, it can't be sold because it had a house, they had houses and floodplain, but this works out good for everybody concerned. I would.
Where are they in the process of, what are they?
They were just waiting on whether or not the village would allow them to have that lot or two lots that they were thinking of using. I wrote back to Nick today, telling him that,
Snake season.
telling him that, as far as we know, it's both of those lots available. So I'm sure he will get back to me probably tomorrow or the next day and let me know where they're going. There were some questions on the approval of it and everything, again, because of the earth that they had to remove from these two lots to make the difference for the raising of the other lots, the other property on Halleck. But I think that most of the issues that were raised on the property, aside from that, were answered and can be resolved. So I think the project to go through, so long as the money's there and the lots are, of course, available.
when we approve this, do we approve this in perpetuity, that they can use it forever? Or is it,
I don't know. I only know I got the word from somebody that the village board allowed it for the $20,000 per lot to be used, to basically use for remediation purposes. I didn't get into the details. Nobody sent me any details. Somebody from the board told me. I have to look into that, right? Okay. We put a little
Nothing
note.
can be built on those.
no, I understand
No,
that, but
no.
like, not that,
Forever.
when they sell their business, or does that go with them to the next owner?
Oh,
That's-
yeah, once the
that's all.
remediation process is
Since
done.
they don't own the property,
Right.
No, they
they're
don't.
kind of like leasing it forever.
No, once the remediation process is done, they scoop out land from that
Mhm.
property, which is useless, and they technically use it for the raising up of the other. Once that's done, those two lots revert back to the village, they never leave the village, and it.
So they can't use it again?
They cannot
Okay,
use it
that's
again.
All right, so it's not
Once-
perpetuity.
Yeah, once it's done,
It's time for one.
yeah.
Okay.
What was that word again?
I'll send it to
Okay.
you. I'll screenshot it, and send it to you.
I know, right?
No, we come out good with that, and it helps to increase the
That's what I want to make
commercial.
sure, so, so it's just
No,
a
once
one-time
it's
use.
done, it's-
Gotcha.
it's finished.
And it's also good for the village too, because as the mayor brought up earlier on another property, just comes to mind, sorry, Mayor.
I'm feeling good right now.
The commercial properties do not contribute generally to the requirements of school board and stuff like that. They go in and just cover themselves and bring extra money to the coffers of the village. So it's a good thing, it'll help the village support itself, so to speak, with the taxes. And that's all I have. Any questions, or? You're holding something back.
No, I'm just interested to see
Oh, okay, all right.
what the attorneys say,
That's all I have here.
Thanks, John.
yeah.
All right. I'm gonna excuse myself?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Have a good evening.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Anyone have
Joe, I'm
anything
gonna
else to
leave
add?
and go home, okay?
Okay.
Was I writing something? No, okay. I'll hang out for a few minutes, just to see if you come in or anything. All right, guys.
Good
Thanks,
night.
John.
Okay.
We discuss this.
Should I close this?
No, you leave it
No,
open.
leave it open. Okay. I'll be short. Okay, anyone else have any topics for the agenda? So let's make a motion to adjourn, and we'll go into executive session. We will not be returning after the executive session for personnel.
Make a motion.
Motion made by Mayor Renata, second. Roll call. Second was made by trustee Kolar. Trustee Kolar,
Yes.
trustee Sampson.
Yes.
Trustee Kolar.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Renata.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Please arrive home safe.